Good day friends, welcome you all in this lecture series on risk and return. Friends, in my previous lectures on risk and return, I talked about what is risk, what is return, measurement of risk, measurement of return, and in the immediate preceding returns, I talked about the beta, that is the measurement of systematic risk. I talked about that how you calculate risk in case of the two securities and which security is more riskier. This we calculate on the basis of coefficient of variation. In this very lecture, I will be basically focusing on two aspects, that what is the impact of tax on return of the security and what is the impact of inflation on the two securities. So, impact of taxes on return. First, I will be talking of what is the impact of taxes on return. Friends, all of us know in India that there is progressive tax system in the country, especially I am talking of direct tax. Different people are in different tax brackets. If your income is up to a particular level, your income is exempted from tax. And as you increases your income, as your income grows, your tax rate also increases. And at present in India, the highest tax slab, I am talking when I am using the word tax, means income tax slab is 30% plus surcharge, right? So, different people are maybe in different tax bracket. Some people are in the 5% tax bracket, some may be in 10%, some may be in 20%, some may be in 30%, right? So, different people are in different tax brackets. And in India, there are different investments which are taxed at different rates. For example, if you invest in Public Provident Fund, PPF, your investment up to 1.5 lakh rupees per annum, right, is exempted from tax. It is exempted for the purpose of calculating your income under 80C, right? You means this amount of 1.5 lakh rupees will be deducted, right, from the total income if you are in the old scheme, right? The interest income which you earn on this investment is also exempt, plus at the time of taking back this money after the span of your 15 years is the time span of investment in the PPF. So, when your amount will mature, the amount which you will draw, that is also exempted from tax. So, what I am trying to say is that different investment are subject to different rates of tax. If you invest in bank FD for less than 5 years, the income which you earn, the interest income which you earn, it is taxable. Taxable at a rate, I will say taxable at marginal rate of tax. Marginal rate of tax means the tax bracket in which you lies. Suppose somebody lies in the 10% tax bracket. So, his return on interest income on the FD will be taxed at 10%. Some person lies in the tax bracket of 30%. It means that interest income will be taxed at a rate of 30%. So, as an investor, you are always interested in knowing what is your post-tax return. That is, whatever the income I am generating by investment in this security or in this financial asset, what is the return post-tax I will be getting, because this will be the return that will be coming in my pocket, because whatever I earn, I will have to pay tax on it if it is a taxable investment. If that security, if that investment, if that financial asset is being taxed, so I will have to pay tax on it. The income I will generate or the maturity time, the money which I will get, it is subject to tax. When it is subject to tax, tax I will have to pay to the government of India, and then I will see that what is the post-tax return I am getting. And there are cases when you are comparing the two investments. One is taxable, other is tax-free, right? So, how will you compare? One tax-free investment is giving you 10% return. Taxable return is giving you 12% return. So, outrightly you cannot say that 12% return is better than the 10% return, because on 12% return, which is this financial asset is taxable, right? So, you will have to pay tax on this 12% earnings of yours. So, you will have to compare, and then only you can say which investment is a better investment. So, friends, always when you see the return of the two securities, of the two investment, two financial assets, you must see that what is your post-tax return, what is your tax implication. I will put it this way, that what is the implication of tax on your return. So this we understand how we calculate this. So taxes can have a significant impact on the net return available to the investors. Tax treatment and rate of tax differ from investment to investment. I have already explained this, that different investments are subject to different rate of tax, right? That the example I have given of PPF or bank FD, the investments which you make in shares, right? So if you are selling the shares for less than a year, right, means you buy the share and dispose of those shares, sell the share in the market in less than 1 year, you are being taxed at a different rate, means it will be considered as short-term capital gain and it will be taxed at 15% at present in India. If you are selling it after 1 year or so whatever the tax rates are, I would say, if you are selling it for less than 1 year, it is taxed differently. If you are selling it after 1 year, it will be taxed differently. And that too, if you are selling it after the year, which is called long-term capital gain, if your capital gain is less than 1 lakh rupees, long-term capital gain, it is exempted from tax. But if your capital gain in a year, I mean to say long-term capital gain, in a year is more than 1 lakh rupees, you will be taxed at a particular rate. What it means is that even in the same asset class, in what time period you are selling it, it will also make your tax calculations different. So you will see what is your post-tax return, what is the tax implication on your return. This is very important to calculate. So some investments are tax-free, like tax-free bonds. Government of India or RBI on behalf of the Government of India issues tax-free bonds. There is no tax. So whatever your income earn, that is being included in your that is tax-free, and that is basically, if I am getting 8% return, I will say my return is 8% because I don't have to pay tax on it. So some are deductible and some are taxable in the hands of the investors. In order to compare the various investment assets, one must compare the benefit either pre-tax or post-tax. Means if you have to compare the two investments, either you can compare it with the pre-tax rate or you compare it with the post-tax rate. So after-tax rate of return or post-tax rate of return is equal to coupon rate or taxable rate. Coupon rate means, suppose a company issues a bond of 10%. That is called coupon rate. That year after year, the company will give you 10% interest on the par value of the bond. If a bond is of 100 rupee, right? So company will give you 10%. If it is a 10% bond, 10 rupees. So the coupon rate is 10 rupees. So the investor will get 10% return. If you have invested 1 lakh rupees, right? So every year you will be getting 10,000 rupees or 10% return on this taxable bond. So after tax rate of return is equal to, that is taxable rate, like I am saying company is issuing a bond and the bond is subject to tax. So 10% into 1 minus tax rate. So in whatever the tax bracket you are, suppose a person is in the 30% bracket, and if I am getting 10% return on my investment, so my post-tax return will be 10% into 1 minus tax rate. If I am in 30% taxes, so 1 minus 0.3 is equal to 0.7. So 10% into 0.7, that comes to be 7%. So my return on the investment, effective return on the investment is not 10% on this bond. My effective return on this investment on the bond is 7%. So we calculate tax equivalent yield. In case of a tax-free investment, suppose an investment like I said PPF is a tax-free investment. So in case of tax-free investment, we can calculate the tax equivalent yield in order to compare it with a taxable investment. Supposing I am comparing bond with the PPF investment. So PPF give you, say for example, 7% return. So what is tax equivalent return? Had the government taxed on this PPF investment, what would have been my return on this? This is called tax equivalent return. So tax equivalent yield is equal to tax-free rate divided by 1 minus tax rate, right? So supposing I would say, what is the PPF return, public provident fund return? Supposing the return on the rate of interest on the PPF investment is say 7%, and I am in the 30% tax bracket. So I will say 7% divided by 1 minus tax rate. 1 minus tax rate, the 30% tax rate, 0.3, that is 7% divided by 0.7. So that will be the return which I will be getting. So now let's take few examples, and with the help of these few examples, we'll see that what is the implication of tax. So Mr. Roshan is earning 15% interest on bonds, and his income is subject to 30% tax, right? Find out after tax rate of return. So we have already discussed this, that what is after tax rate of return is equal to coupon rate multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. So the Mr. Roshan is earning 15%, so 15 multiplied by 1 minus 0.3, because the tax rate is 30%, that comes to be 10.5%. So apparently Mr. Roshan is earning 15%, but what is the effective return which is getting? Because on this 15% he will be paying 30% tax. So I am not taking surcharge, I am taking only flat rate of tax 30%. So 15% is not, it is a, if I call it nominal return, but the real return is 10.5%, because on this 15 rupees, if you have invested 10 lakh rupees, out of this 10 lakh rupees you are getting a 15% return, that every year you are getting 1,50,000 rupees as interest income on your bond, right? But on this 1,50,000 rupees you will have to pay 30% interest. So effectively you will not get 1,50,000 rupees, but you will getting 10.5% return only, right? So this is the way you calculate tax post-tax return. Let's take another example. Let me take what is this after-tax rate of return. So taxable rate into 1 minus tax rate. Supposing on an investment you are getting 14% return, right? So 14% divided by 1 minus tax rate, sub 30% tax rate, 0.7. So your taxable rate is not 14%, your return is 20%. Supposing you are getting an investment of 14%, so on which there is no tax. So what is the real return? What your real return is not 14%, your real return is 20%. So you're apparently you are getting 14%, but on some investment on which you are paying 30% tax, and if you want to compare it with tax, you are comparing tax-free return with the return on those investment on which you are paying tax. So this tax-free return is, which is 14%, is not equivalent to 14%. Effectively, it is equivalent to 20% return of, as compared to those securities on which you are paying tax. And I am presuming it that you are paying tax as per your tax slab, and the individual is in the 30% tax slab. So in this way we can take various examples, like it says Ms. Shivani has invested in a 12% tax free bond and her income is subject to 30% tax rate. Find out the tax equivalent yield, right? In this case also tax free rate is 12%. 12% divided by 1 minus 0.3, if 30%. If a person is in the 20% tax bracket, I would have said 1 minus 0.2, right? So 0.8. So here, since the person is 30%, most of my example I have taken the highest rate of tax. You can calculate as per the tax rate applicable on that individual. So 12% divided by 1 minus 0.3, because the person is in 30% tax bracket. Ms. Shivani is in the 30% tax bracket. So 12 divided by 0.7 comes to be 17.14%. So tax equivalent yield means if you are comparing it with the other security which is taxable, this yield is not for 12%, it is yield is 17.14%. Let's take another example. Mr. Sharma has been offered with two schemes. Scheme A, which provide taxable return of 17%, whereas scheme B provide tax-free return of 14%. That is, one scheme you are getting 17%, which is taxable, and the other scheme, which is a tax-free investment, which is giving you 14% return. Which scheme should Mr. Sharma opt if the person is subject to, of Mr. Sharma is subject to 30% tax bracket? So scheme B is providing tax-free return of 14%. So to compare and decide between the two schemes, we must calculate the after-tax return of security A, right? So we'll compare after-tax return of security A. After-tax return of security A is equal to taxable rate, means on security A, the person is getting 17%, but the person is paying the 30% tax. So 17 multiplied by 1 minus 0.3, that is 0.7. So 17 multiplied by 0.7 is equal to 11.9%. Right? So thus scheme A provide after tax return of 11.9%, whereas scheme B provides tax free rate of 14%. Apparently, had the person may not be knowledgeable about what is the impact of tax, he would have said that since in scheme A is getting 17% return, the scheme B is giving 14% return, so scheme A is more beneficial as compared to scheme B. But if you have seen the tax implication, that what is the post-tax yield on security A and security B, because security B you are not paying any tax, on security A you are paying 30% tax. So effective yield of security A is 11.9%. So Mr. Sharma should prefer scheme B as it is providing a higher return, right? So this way you have seen that how we calculate the impact of the tax on our investments. So friends, we must calculate, when we compare the two securities, we must calculate what is the post-tax return on the security. What it implies is the tax implication on the investment must be taken into account in order to take a wise and rational decision. Similarly, as the way tax affects your return, similarly inflation also affects your return. As you know, all countries in the world are subject to inflation. Inflation in the sense, in every country there is some inflation that is taking place in most of the time. There may be a time when the inflation may not be there, right? But in most of the time, my experience in India at least, I can say that over a period of time, it has always been inflation. If you see the last 30, 40, 50 years data, there is always inflation in every year. The rate of inflation varies from year to year, but inflation always takes. And we also know that inflation, that is price rise, and purchasing power has inverse relationship. When price goes up, the value of money decreases, right? So when the prices goes up, your real rate of return decreases. Supposing I invest in a bond at the rate of 10%, and the investment is for 10 years. That is, company promises to give me 10% interest on my investment on this bond at the rate of 10% every year. That is, if I have invested 1 lakh rupees in this bond, I will be getting 10,000 rupees year after year as an interest, which is the coupon rate of interest, and the period is 10 years. So every year, the 10,000 rupees interest will be paid by the company. And if I am presuming, a very simplistic example, 5% inflation is taking place on an annual basis. So this investment of mine, which is of 1 lakh rupees, which is giving me 10,000 return every year, whether the value of this 10,000 rupees which I am getting in the first year, second year, third year up to the 10th year will remain same? Answer is no. Because every year this 10,000 rupees which I will be getting, the company will give me a check of rupees 10,000, it will transfer in my account 10,000 rupees. But the purchasing power of the return, purchasing power of this 10,000 rupees will keep on falling as the inflation keep on increasing. Every year 5% inflation is taking, I am presuming a very simplistic example. So the real return of this 10,000 rupees, or I would say 10%, will keep on falling as the inflation keep on increasing. So in times of increasing inflation, investors in fixed income securities should be avoided, as the return on them is fixed in nominal terms. Nominal term, as I said, if you are investing in a bond, 1 lakh rupees, 10,000 rupees you will be getting every year. So this 10% or 10,000 rupees is a nominal return, right? It is being received in nominal terms and does not increase with inflation, right? So real rate of return is the return adjusted for inflation. So nominal rate of return is the return earned on an investment and contains the element of inflation. I am saying this bond will give me 10% return, right? So if a bond of 100 rupees, 10 rupees. So this 10 rupees includes the element of inflation. So what is R? R means here small r means real rate of return. So real rate of return is equal to 1 plus R divided by 1 plus I minus 1, right? So 1 plus R, what is R here? Capital R, right? So what is the nominal rate of return? Nominal rate of return is denoted by capital R. Divide by 1 plus I. I is the rate of inflation, or I would say inflation rate, right? Minus 1. Or this formula can be said as R means real rate of return, R small r, and the capital R means the nominal rate of return, right? So nominal rate of return minus inflation divided by 1 plus I. 1 I means inflation, right? So in this way you can calculate the real rate of return, right? So if supposing on an investment, let me take example directly, if a nominal rate of return is 15% and the inflation rate is 6%, so what is the real return? I am presuming that an investment of yours is giving you, or Ms. Kavita is getting a return of 15%. It is a fixed return. You are investing in a bond and Ms. Kavita is being promised to get 15% interest on the investment of this bond. Supposing a 100 rupee bond, it means 15 rupees every year. And in the country, it is a time period is 10 years, right? So in the country, if I am presuming, and here in this example I am taking only 1 year, so inflation rate is 6%. So whether the return means the 15 rupees which I will be getting after 1 year, is this 15 rupees is 15% return, is really 15% return, or what is my real rate of return? For this I have to adjust the inflation also. So the real rate of return is equal to, as I said earlier, R minus I. R is, in our case, R means capital I means nominal rate of return minus inflation. 15 minus 6 divided by 1 plus I. So 1 plus I is 1 plus 0.06, which is the rate of inflation, right? So 9 divided by 1.06, that is gives you 8.49. So this nominal return, which is 15%, and if the inflation is taking place at the rate of 6%, friends, the rate of return, effective rate of return or real rate of return is not 15%, 8.49%, right? Let's take another example. Mr. Malhotra makes an investment at rupees 100. The year-end price of this investment at different market condition probabilities are as follows. Friend, I will talk of, because of the time constraints, I will be quickly talking of this, right? So there are 3 different situations. The probability of 3 different situations is given, and the price at the end of the year is also being given. 150 rupees, 120 rupees, and this 90 rupees. And probability of all these year-end prices is also being given. So find out the expected value of return for 1 year and risk. Also calculate inflation adjusted return and if the rate of inflation is 9%. Friends, as far as the first part is concerned, we have already calculated many times earlier also the risk and return. In my previous lectures on this risk and return, I have shown you many times that how we calculate risk and return. So I am not repeating again and again of how you calculate. So I will simply say the expected return of the security is 23%, right? So risk is 21%. The standard deviation is 21%. So what is the nominal rate of return? This is the main problem before us, that calculate nominal rate of return or calculate the inflation adjusted return. So nominal rate of return, as you are seeing here, is 23% on this investment. That is, we have calculated the probability multiplied by return, makes the summation of it, you get the return. So 23% is the nominal rate, inflation rate is 9%. So 23% minus the rate of inflation divided by 1 plus rate of inflation. That gives you 14 divided by 1.09, that it means 12.84%, right? So your nominal rate of is 30%, 23%, but if inflation is taking place at 9%, so effective rate of return is 12.84%, friends. So with these words, thank you very much, and today And by this lecture, we are completing the topic of risk and return. On this topic, I have talked about taking 6 different lectures on risk and return. Thank you very much.